to talk about one of my very favorite topics. I am by background, I am a speech language pathologist, so this is absolutely one of my favorite things to talk about, language and literacy. And when you think about it, I can't think of anything that's more fun to do with our children than language and literacy, because as you can see, language is talking, listening, reading, and writing, and talking about what you're reading and writing. So it's just the most fun thing you can do. All right, so these are activities that promote language and literacy. You promote language and literacy really by interacting with your child, by reading, by doing music, you know, watching movies and talking about them. So books, books, books is so important to read. Telling stories. Kids love to hear stories about even your life in your childhood. Daily routines. You can talk about what you're doing if you go through your day. Sound letter association. That's the very beginning stages of learning to read. How certain letters have a sound that goes with them. And they learn that this letter makes this sound, like B makes B. Songs and rhymes, which is fun, and just talking while you're playing and talking about what you're playing. So it's so important to read. Read, read, read. Reading fosters closeness, nurturing. You know, you get close to each other to be able to look at the same book. Connections, and it begins the journey of literacy, just reading to your child and having them interact about the story. Here's some favorite books that we tend to see in preschool. The Llama Llama books are so cute, a whole series of books. Chicka Chicka Boom Boom, Brown Bear, What Do You See? And these are very repetitive books, very rhythmical. They're so rhythmical that you could almost set them to music or to drumming. Click Clack Moo, Sandra Boynton is such a great author. The Way I Feel, talking about feelings. Giraffes Can't Dance. These are just some ideas of great children's books. So it's more than just looking at words and pictures. Encourage your child to turn the pages and talk about what they see. Use your finger to guide your child's eyes from left to right across the page as you read, because we learn to read left to right. Most of the things in our life that have words are sequenced in our language from left to right. So you want to get them used to their eyes tracking from left to right. Encourage your child to take the lead with reading. For example, asking them, where do we start? Every once in a while, stop reading. Ask them what they think will happen next. Ask them to tell you what's happening in the story right now. What's going on? Tell me in your words. Link books with real life. For example, if you've read a book about playing in the park, take your child to the park and then talk about the book and the things that happened in the book while you're at the park. Point out swings that look like the swings in the book. Encourage your child to act out the story that you're reading. For example, ask your child to hop like a kangaroo if the book had a kangaroo. This is a cute little video. Bernie, one of our speech language pathologists, Bernadette, actually made this video recording of her granddaughters. And the older one is reading to the younger one and loves being able to show the younger one what she can do and teach her about words and reading. So this is, hold on, got to go back to get that. I have to go backwards a little bit. Sorry about that. Let me get to that video again. There we go. So let's play this video.
We don't have any audio.
No audio, huh? Let's see. Let me look. I'm turning it up.
You might have to stop share, reshare, and then click that audio button when you reshare.
Okay, hold on. And let me put it back to slide. Okay, I'm gonna pause this for a second and reshare. Hold on. I just closed it.
Stop share here.
Stop share. Stop share there. Gotcha.
Okay, no reshare. And click here. Oh, no, go back. Stop share again.
Okay.
Share. And click share sound.
Share sound. Gotcha.
And then click that.
Okay.
And then you should be good.
All right. Thanks, Danielle. Let's try this. See if we can get our sound going.
Yeah, good job. What's this? Cake. Peak. What's this? Apple. Apple. What's this? Juice. Glass. Doodle.
So she's being a little teacher there.
BB. Apple. Apple. Fork. Listen down.
So isn't that cute? Gonna. So when we ask children questions about what we are reading, we help them engage more fully in the story with the material. And it encourages them to think about what they're reading, to try to make maybe projections about what's coming, or to try to think about what a character might be wearing or might be thinking. Helps them learn more about storytelling, and it increases their vocabulary and it sparks their curiosity. Ask your child to use the illustrations to give them clues to what each page will be about before you read it. So you can look at the page and look at the characters on the page, and maybe the character is wearing mittens and a scarf. And you might ask your child, what kind of weather do you think that they're having in the story? And the child could say, well, if they're wearing a scarf and gloves, probably it's cold outside. That helps them to kind of read between the lines and think more deeply about the story. Ask your child how they would feel in the character's shoes. How would they feel if they were that character? Would they make the same choices? Would it be fun to be in the book? Ask your child to try to find their initials. So if your child knows what his or her name starts with, then see if you can find a word that has the same letter as your name starts with. Ask your child to tell you in their words what happened in the book. Retell the story in their own words. This skill is called retelling, and it really helps in learning how to build comprehension or understanding of the story. Before reading, ask your child what they think the book will be about. What are the pictures on the cover tell us? So you might look at the cover and ask your child before you even start reading, what do you think this is about? So this is a really cute picture of Bernadette's grandfather, and he loved to tell stories about his childhood. He was actually Italian, and she loved to hear stories of his childhood. And our children love to hear stories of our childhood, because think about it, they're very, very young, and especially me as a grandparent, my life seems to them kind of ancient history. You know, they love to hear stories because it was different when I was a child than they are now. And so the same is true for you. So use classics such as Goldilocks and the Three Bears and the Three Little Pigs. If they don't like classics, just take a book they love and retell the story in their own words or your own words. Then you can take a day you've just been through and talk about it. Let's say, let's talk. Let's start at the beginning. Tell me what we did today. Tell me what your favorite part was. Tell me what stands out in your mind. You know, have them learn how to retell in order what happened in the day. And you can say, remember when we went to the ocean, and remember when we looked for seashells and built a sandcastle. You can go back and remember when they're vivid memories and get them to retell and join you in remembering. So they love for you to create stories that are all about them, everything about them, and retell the stories, everything about them. They're what they like to do, what their favorite song is, what their favorite book is, what they like to wear, and just retell that story, making them the main character. And you can use daily routines. Establishing a daily routine is comforting to a child, and it helps them to predict what's going to happen and anticipate in the day. It provides for consistent use of objects and exposure to vocabulary associated with that activity. And as I mentioned before, sequencing skills are so important in reading. Knowing when it begins, what's the middle of the story, and what's the last, or how does it end? What's the finish? Almost everything we do in life has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And learning that sequence and being able to tell it in order is important in an early learning literacy skill. Some tasks can be arranged left to right, such as setting the table or laying out their clothes. Cooking's a great thing to do with kids because you have to find the recipe, right? Look at the picture and you can point out words in the recipe, point out words on the containers. You can read the recipe together using sequencing, such as first we'll measure, then we'll pour all of the ingredients into the bowl. Now we're going to stir everything up. And then last, we'll pour the batter into the baking cups. Emphasize action words, pouring, stirring, mixing, measuring, and talk about temperature. You have to set an oven to bake. Point out the numbers on the oven or numbers, how long it's going to take for it to cook. This is going to take 60 minutes to cook, or this will take 20 minutes to cook. So you can talk about that. Look at the measuring cups and talk about what it means to have just a half a cup or a part of a cup. And those are all ways to build vocabulary and to build some life skills and just have fun together doing something. Shopping is a great way. Make a shopping list with your child. Take them to the grocery store, and as you pick up the items, cross the items off the grocery list and say, look, apple. You can even say, hey, apple, ah. The sound starts with an ah sound. Look at the word on the list, cross it off and match it with the object. Let the child put the item in the cart. And you can point out signs in the store. The store will have labeling items in the aisles. You can even point out numbers for prices and look at numbers. And following instructions. You can point out words and pictures when building together. You can emphasize vocabulary. As you can see, this is a father and a child who are working together to build something. Looks like they're measuring the wood, they're reading the ruler, they're going to draw a straight line. You can use the words ruler, draw a straight line, what that means. And we're going to saw, or we're going to glue. Use those action words. And then you can even sequence it like we did the recipe. Say, first we're going to measure. Then we're going to draw a line where we cut. Then we're going to use the saw to cut. Once again, sequencing. community signs are a really, really good way too, because children see these signs all the time when they're driving. I think one of the first signs children recognize is the stop sign. They see that so often. You can be riding in the car and see the stop sign and go, look, it has 8 shapes. It has 8 lines. It says stop, the word stop. You can hold up your hand and say, stop. When we see that sign, we stop. And all kinds of signs like walk or don't walk, enter or do not enter, yield, a yield sign, caution signs, a restroom sign. You can point these signs out, and the signs usually have words that go with them. And it's a good way to have a symbol or a sign along with a word. You can label things at home. You can see this picture that the light is labeled and the wall is labeled. And they have some cute labels here to label a child's room. That's another way for to see the word along with the object. It's a really good way to learn words, is to associate the word with something real, a real object. And then when we talk about sound letter association, it's important for children to learn that a letter has a sound that goes with it. You know, the letter A can be pronounced A or A. And then you hold up an apple and say, this word starts with A. It makes the A sound. It's the beginning of the word apple. So, a really good website that children can go to, and it's a free website, is called starfall.com. It's a great website, and they have a lot of things that are fun and interactive for kids, for learning letters and for numbers and for counting. Leapfrog magnets and books. As we said, we looked at Chicka Chicka Boom Boom before. It's a very rhythmical, repetitive book. ABC books are great because they always show the letters along with a word and a picture. This is what Starfall looks like. It's starfall.com, and it has all of these different things that your child can have interactive games, math and ABCs, learn to read, colors, seasonal things. It's just a wonderful free website. So rhyming is really important in that our language has a rhythm to it and a rhyme to it and a way that you can play with words and sounds. Rhymes help children develop listening and speaking skills. So, you know, you can do like the old nursery rhymes. They had a lot of repetition and rhyming in them, you know. It's kind of an old one, but Jack Sprat could eat no fat. His wife could eat no lean. And so it was between them both. They licked the platter clean. There's a lot of rhyming words. And then Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. So they hear those different words that sound the same, that rhyme and have a rhythm and a lyrical, almost musical quality that makes it really easy for it to get into your brain and learn it. Rhyming lets children learn about word families such as let, met, pet, wet, get. Rhyming teaches children the sound of the language. Rhyming helps children read with animation and rhythm in their voice. Use rhymes whenever you can. Use phrases like snug as a bug in a rug, or make up rhymes about what you're doing. For example, putting fish in the cat's dish. Sing nursery rhymes with your child. Nursery rhymes teach your child language, rhyme, repetition, and rhythm. Try Baa Baa Black Sheep. Have you any wool? And you can sing with it. Yes, sir, 3 bags full. So just fun ways and musical ways. Music is really important because it helps it stick in children's minds because they can remember the melody And then it's easier to remember how the words go. Like twinkle, 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 little star, how I wonder what you are. So you get the rhythm and rhyming along with a melody, and it's a wonderful way to learn language. Play with puppets. That way they can explore and pretend to be characters and use different language and different voices. They can pretend to be the character. They can learn cause and effect in stories. And once again, stories all have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And dramatic play. They love to pretend play. Pretend that you're going to a restaurant. My kids and grandkids love to set a table and to set it with silverware, make a pretend menu, and then come and pretend to wait on us and write down what food we wanted to eat. And they could tell us what food they were going to bring. A doctor's office. They love to pretend to be the teacher and play school. It's a wonderful way to make menus and signs and lists and to start some of that writing to go along with the words and reading. So I do have something I'd like to share with you. It's a little video of me reading to my granddaughter, a little video clip, and demonstrates some of the things that we're talking about in the way that I use my voice with her and the way that I stop, that she jumps in and says something about the story. So hopefully this can kind of demonstrate that a little bit. Hold on, I have to go back and put it up on my screen. I'll be right back. See if I can get this to work. Hold on. Trying to get this up on my screen.
Minimize it.
And there we go. There it is, got it.
It's very small. He smiles
Yeah, I'm
at
looking
that.
at audio.
How do you?
Check the audio, share screen here.
It's on, okay. And then you're just gonna have to rewind.
Okay.
Though it's true,
Fine.
I'm not.
Okay, thank you. All right, Danielle, to the rescue here.
One just flew by. That can-do pig, that looks like an angel flying.
Yes, but actually, look at this one.
Look at that one, there's a balloon. From the closet down the hall steps a pig. It's very small. He smiles and asks, how do you do? Quite well, I say, but who are you? I'm Super Duper Can-Do Pig. And though it's true I'm not that big, there's not a thing that I can't do. Just watch. I'll clean your house for you. What did he do? Did he pick him up with one hand?
Yes.
And he's cleaning the floor. He lifts me up into the air, and then he mops.
All right, so as you can see, I kind of stopped and would stop and ask her a question. One time she commented, you couldn't hear very well what she was saying, but this is a book called The Can-Do Pigs. And this pig was flying into this house on a balloon. And she told me, she said, the pig is flying. The pig's on a balloon. So later I stopped and I said, what is the pig doing? What is the pig gonna do? And she said, the pig is gonna clean his house. And what you couldn't see in the book is that this can-do pig picked up this man with one hand, picked up the man and started sweeping underneath him. So it was a very whimsical book and it captured her attention. So, and you try to also use your voice to kind of act out the characters and put a lot of variation into the reading of the words so that it's captivating for them. So that's it as far as what I have to share today.
And can I just add one thing, Joanne, before we wrap up?
Sure.
One thing I just wanted to add, and this is sometimes I hear this a lot from families, is, well, my child can't answer questions, or they can't label items in books. And it doesn't matter where your child is at regarding their language development. There is always a benefit to literacy, right? You can read a child a book and you don't even have to read all the words on a page, right? You can skim it. And I've done this when my kids were really young, right? They don't have the attention span to sit through like a really long book, right? Like, oh, look, the bunny is hopping. Let's turn the page. Oh, now the bunny's at the house, right? Like, you can shorten it. They don't know. If they're not reading yet, you can shorten those pages, right? So you can get them through the book. You can be engaging and you're not making them sit for a long period of time. Reading should be fun. It should be cozy, right? If you can read a short story at bedtime, you know, I think Joanne touched on like embedding it into those routines, right? The more you read, the more you immerse them and make reading and talking fun, right? It'll only help increase their language development, right? And that's one thing that we talk about a lot with our Easter Seal staff when they first start. If they don't have experience working with young kids that don't have a lot of vocal communication, it's like, listen, it's okay if they don't answer you back. It's okay if they're not sharing about their day. We're gonna keep sharing. We're gonna have the conversation. We'll take their nonverbal cues, right? The more that we can describe, like Joanne said, our world around us, talk about what we see, we're helping their little brains, right, to make those connections between like, oh, that thing that I see is a stop sign, that thing is a tree, right? Like, we're only just helping them to increase their language development by using all of those skills and strategies that Joanne talked about. So I just don't mean to be discouraged, like, oh, my kid can't answer questions, my kid can't identify, you know, items and stories. That's okay, right? The more that we use these things, these tools that we have, it'll just increase our young kids' language development. So thank
Yeah,
you, Joanne.
that's
That's
a good-
really was a great presentation.
Really good point, Danielle. In fact, when I first started reading to that child, she wasn't speaking. So, you know, it's a long progression. She's just turned 5 now. So when you have a child, that good point, you can always find things to point out to them, and your children are taking in and understanding way more than you even know. Because the first thing that develops with language is comprehension or understanding. It's just like if we're learning a foreign language, we'll understand it first better than we can speak it or say it. So yes, good point, Danielle. And I wanted to ask if any of you have any questions of me.